to come in here because I think that we do a lot of the same things, but it was really nice to see your groupings of how you had the students in this class and the way that you partnered them up. But in this lesson in particular on the Telltale Heart, the part that I was like, aha, this is different than what I did, and this is what I think is better. Everything I did in this lesson was whole group, pretty much. I mean, we read it together. I think we even listened to it on audio. We picked out words that we didn't understand together. We paraphrased certain parts of it. We watched a dramatic version of it, and then we watched like a cartoon version. And we talked about things like mood. But what I really liked that you did with this group was when you had them work, you gave them the chart. And you gave them all different parts, and they each had a different color, and each partner was accountable for a different part, but then they got to rotate that. And then they also got to rotate to different tables, and they had 4 different quotes. And I have them do partner work, but usually it's just they each have their own paper, they just sit and they talk, and I'm having to constantly walk around, which, you know, you do anyway, but I'm having to constantly walk around to make sure that they're each doing what they're supposed to be. This way, with the different colors and the chart and the rotating of the parts, you know, you had one person do the quote, one person do the assertion, one person do the explanation, and then the next time they switch those. I really like that because you were making each person be accountable in their, you know, in their own way. I'm always trying to think of ways to do that, to do partner work better. And that was the part that I thought was the best. And I definitely think that there are ways that I could incorporate that as far as, because like when we paraphrase, I know I had partners paraphrase together.
Right.
But is there some way that I could do that with, you know, me giving them the parts I want them to paraphrase and then having them share a paper, share a document, because normally they have their own documents, share a document and then see who does what part and actually listen to them discuss that. So that was.
This class is a difficult class, and where we have gone to those laying the foundation trainings, which is supposed to be the pre-AP for middle school, I don't want to cheat students with disabilities or students that are on the lower end of the spectrum from those high-level critical thinking activities. So when we talked about the different charts in the original LTF lesson, the chart was in there to be done individualized whole group, just like how you said you did it last year.
And you tend to have a few students who dominate that.
Exactly. Exactly.
That's
So the modification for my students with the 504 plans and the IEPs and the students that have a little bit more difficulty was to have that chart already made and then to give them that support. And
even the size of it,
right.
how big it was for them, and it gave them plenty of room to write in it, and you know,
right.
for them to.
And you try to set it up so that the students have a chance to be successful. That's why everybody gets the opportunity to copy down the quote, because you're going to be successful. And even though they are writing the answer in their chosen color, they still have the support of their partners around them to discuss it. And that's why I tried to make it clear that even though this person is responsible for writing the answer on the chart, it's everybody's responsibility to determine that answer. And I have found that that's just kind of a safety measure, and it makes the students a little bit more likely to participate, and they're not afraid to give their answers. And I guess that's
well, even if they did decide to do it kind of individually, like I said, because you made them do it differently at every station, if they didn't work on the assertion this time, they had to do the assertion next time.
right.
So at some point or another,
They're going to have to do it.
Right.
Another modification that I made for this particular class was the fact that I actually pulled out the quotes. Now, sometimes that saves time, sometimes that saves, well, it saves time, And it also takes away, did I choose the right quote to analyze? So if I choose the quotes that I want them to analyze for this lesson, maybe on the next lesson, I'll choose less quotes and then give them the opportunity in their groups to choose a quote themselves. I feel like if we model it this time, then next time they'll be able to do it more independently.
There was one other thing I was going to say about, I really liked how you had, when you were doing your group work with them, you had them working in partners. And then, like, if a group got finished and kind of were just sitting, you would say, okay, will you go over here to this table and check your answers with this group? And they actually, and I guess it's because you do this routinely.
Yes.
They know how this works, and they actually do it. I mean, I watched them. They would get up and they would go over here and they would check with that group, and then they would debate. Actually, I mean, it's kind of crazy to hear 8th graders take on that, and debate. No, that's a synonym because, or this is the actual definition, or no, you're wrong. Let's look up the definition here about this. I mean,
did you
thought that was
catch
pretty cool.
the group that I checked their work and I told them they were right and I sent them on? And then when they went to this group, they told this group they were incorrect, and that's where the debate started. And then the conversation turned to me, Ms. Devine, you told us we were correct and we weren't. We put the antonyms and we were supposed to put synonyms. So I thought that was kind of powerful too,
Yes,
that they were
definitely
able to catch that. And what
Mhm.
was really kind of neat about that is the students that did that are struggling students in my classroom, and they were able to say, no, we chose the antonyms instead of the synonyms.
They even, a couple of them, I saw them give each other a high five afterwards. When
Yeah.
you had to say, oh, you're right, I had told them wrong, and then, I saw them give a high five afterwards. I was like, that is so great that they do that and they care and know about that. And going along with that too, in your bell work, when you had them use, again, coloring pencils, and you had the two partners, you had them, one partner had to read the word and the 4 choices, and the other partner chose the 2 words, and then partner A had to check. So you had partner A and partner B, they each had their roles. And then again, they flip-flopped, and then they had the roles again. And they were held accountable by the different colors. But your belt work, do you have tests on this at the end of the week?
Yes.
See, that's another thing. I was like, she does this every day, and then they test on Friday, and so they've had a little mini lesson every single day. And
Right.
I thought that was good.
And the thing about the bell work, it's usually review for the most part. I think this week we looked at summarizing and we looked at vocabulary, which is something that we did in our first unit. And what I liked about today's bell work too was yesterday with the summary, the students had to write the summary, and then today they had to choose the summary statement that best supported the paragraph. So it just kind of keeps scaffolding, and then we have those quizzes every week. So you get that review in for things that you've done earlier in the year, and they're held accountable for it every week.
Right. So, and we have the same, obviously I have this class, and I've told you multiple times, I struggle with this class because I tend to teach up here, and I have a really hard time coming down to the students that are down here. But even small things like, the first thing I noticed when I sat down was who you had grouped together and who you had seated together. And we talked about that during class. I was like, I have been trying to figure out who these, the two that you have sitting here, I have them sitting together too, but it doesn't work. But what you figured out was that the person you have sitting here is the one that keeps them reined in. And I hadn't tried that. All I ever thought was, these 2 are buddies, so I can't have them sitting together because they'll be a distraction.
Mm-hmm.
But, you picked up on that. And actually, at every single table, you had something like that going on. So I'll have to keep that in mind. Actually, I wrote down exactly who you had sitting together